Hello and welcome to the Flipside. I am your host, Dr. Michael Nichols. And the first thing I want to do is just kind of reach out there and say thank you to all of you who are watching this very first episode of the Flipside. I'm hoping this is going to be a very long journey for us all to have fun on and learn information and just connect and be excited about the world of health as opposed to scared sometimes or angry sometimes about the world of health. I know that's the way I feel sometimes. The flip side is the flip side to the world of health that the Western medical world says is health. There is a flip side to that. So we're going to be covering topics like alternative medicine, alternative health remedies. We're going to talk about the politicization of health and healthcare in our nation, which is a huge topic to cover. We're going to talk about controversial topics. We'll talk about vaccines. We'll talk about anything that needs a voice in relationship to this field of health and healthcare. Um, I hope at some point to have some interviews with various people as well. So today is the beginning. So welcome. What I wanted to do today with this first episode was talk about something that I think of as foundational. It's not just foundational for health, it's foundational for life in general, but we're going to relate it to health and healthcare and health choices, and that's philosophy. Now, I'm not a doctor of philosophy. My doctorate is in chiropractic. My bachelor's degree is in kinesiology and nutrition. My background is in chiropractic and exercise and massage and functional medicine. Those are my specialties. So philosophy is certainly not my specialty. But I will tell you that when I started this journey with chiropractic, the thing that really attracted me to chiropractic, one of the biggest reasons, was the philosophy revolving around chiropractic. Chiropractic is one of the only professions that I know of that has a philosophy that is broken down into steps that are so clear and really help take you from point, the first to the second to the third to the fourth, and really show you what the purpose of the profession is supposed to be about. I don't know of any professions that have the detail of philosophy broken down the way chiropractic does. When I was in chiropractic college, I had a mentor. I had a bunch of people that I considered mentors, but there was one particular person who, during a talk once, he was talking about philosophy, and he was really relating the philosophy's purpose between what you do in your business life and what you do in your personal life. And he was making a really clear point that at least stuck home with me. He was saying that, if your business philosophy is in this direction and your personal philosophy, home, wife, kids, etc., is in this direction, that those two philosophies are not congruent with each other and are therefore pulling you apart. And then you start to see chaos in your life. You start to see problems in the business side. You start to see problems in the personal side because your philosophies are pulling you in different directions. And that in reality, they need to be going in the same direction. And the illustration he did with his arms like this was really kind of just brought it home, that your philosophies need to be going in the same direction. They need to be aligned. Now, a lot of people, and you may be one, don't really think much about philosophy in your life. You just live your life. And whether or not you have put much thought into what your own personal philosophical ideas or principles are is kind of irrelevant. Your life is still running by those unspoken principles, those unspoken ideas. So I've always felt that it is a worthy step to spend some time thinking about, well, what do I believe about this particular topic? What is my philosophy of marriage? What is my philosophy in business? What is my philosophy for health? It it can be very revealing. Now, where my mentor was talking about, business philosophy, personal philosophy, and being congruent, I want to bring that back to what the topic is for us today, and that is the philosophies regarding health. So if your philosophy of health is here, and the philosophy of the practitioner or the type of practice that you're going to for your health is here, then once again, you're not aligned, you're not congruent. Now, this is not always going to be perfect or workable. It's not always going to be something that you can just say, oh, well, I'm only going to find a Western medical doctor that fits my philosophy. That may be very difficult to do. So this is not a perfect scenario, but it's something to think about because it underlies a lot of times your motivations when it comes to how you look at health and how you choose the certain directions you go with health. It's also important, I think, to look at that in regards to the types of practitioners that you see for your healthcare and how that aligns or how it can align with your own personal philosophical beliefs. So that's what I want to talk about today, and that's what I'm hoping that we can kind of get a grasp on today, at least some kind of an idea of it. So, we can use that analogy, like I said, about the congruency with your thoughts on disease and the way that you go about getting cured or the doctors that you relate to. So there are lots of different practitioners that a person can go see. When it comes to health, the first thing that most people think about is a Western medical doctor. Medical doctors, medicine in general, has a philosophy, supposedly. If you go online and you put in the philosophy of Western medicine, or is there a philosophy for Western medicine, or anything like that, which I've done, the information that comes up is interesting because, yes, there's lots of stuff that comes up, and there's lots of papers that have been written about how important, philosophy is in medicine. But a lot of it kind of circulates back around to this idea of empirical evidence. To me, that's science. Now, yes, there's philosophy in science, and there are connections, but it doesn't feel like it has a soul. The idea of your philosophy being basically, what can I prove by science, doesn't sound like a philosophy to me. But let's clarify that. So Western medicine is, for the most part, and let me back up and mention something too. Not every chiropractor, not every naturopath, not every medical doctor, not every acupuncturist, whatever, is going to live by the exact same philosophy because they are part of a profession. But the guidelines that surround a profession tend to encompass, most of those people in that profession are going to be encompassed by that philosophy in some way or form. Yes, there are always exceptions. There are going to be chiropractors that have philosophies that are going to more closely align with what we're going to talk about with Western medicine, and there may even be some Western medical doctors that have philosophies that align closer to what we're going to talk about with chiropractic. So I'm not trying to make this out that every medical doctor or every chiropractor or every alternative practitioner has the exact same philosophy. So being clear with that. So the basis of the philosophy for Western medicine is really something that's known as reductionism, or a reductionist perspective. And in a reductionist perspective, a reductionism philosophy or idea essentially revolves around the idea that complex systems, so in this case, the human body, complex systems, can be understood by breaking them down into their simpler parts. Complex systems such as the human body can be understood by breaking them down into their simpler parts. The kind of way to paraphrase that is that the whole equals the sum of its parts. The whole equals the sum of its parts. To contrast that, in chiropractic, and I can't speak for all alternative, but I would tell you that most alternative practices are going to be closer aligned to what we're going to talk about here for the philosophy for chiropractic. Very similar. And that's really a philosophy that is referred to as vitalism. So reductionist or reductionism in contrast with vitalism. And with vitalism, the idea is that there is a vital force that distinguishes living from non-living matter. There's a vital force that distinguishes living from non-living matter. And that vital force cannot necessarily be explained solely by physical and chemical processes. Okay, much bigger idea, I think. And if you wanted to paraphrase that in a similar way, we would say that the whole is greater than the sum of its parts. Reductionism says that the whole is equal to the sum of its parts. Vitalism says that the whole is greater than the sum of its parts. That may sound like a kind of ticky-tack thing to kind of split hairs about, but it's not, and it's not splitting hairs in this minutia kind of way. It's a huge difference. It's a huge difference. There's an analogy that I've read. I don't remember where I read it a long time ago that talked about the idea of a pocket watch. Okay, so if you were to take a pocket watch and break it down into all of its parts, you could then take it and put it back together again if you knew what you were doing. I certainly couldn't do that. And it would operate perfectly, just the way it did before. Take it apart, put it back together. The human body, though, is not like that. You can't do that. You can't take a human, put them down on an operating table, take everything out of it, and then put it back together and expect the person to be okay. It doesn't work that way. So that's a simplistic analogy, but it gives you a little bit of an idea of this idea of the whole is equal to its parts, like a pocket watch, or that the whole is greater than the sum of its parts, like the human being. Human beings are very complex. The system is very complex. And there's something that animates life. Now, there's sometimes this kind of borderline between philosophy and faith or religion. And so we're probably going to skirt that just a little bit as we talk this today. So, I'm not looking to get into a big religious conversation, but I'm looking to talk about the ideas of philosophy and how that works with your choices for healthcare. And it does skirt the ideas of religion and faith. A reductionist viewpoint typically would not involve a whole lot of faith or religion. A vitalistic perspective typically does. But once again, that's not always true. I know people who are very vitalistic, but they don't really believe in God. They believe in, the energy of the universe kind of a thing, but they don't believe in God. So once again, it doesn't have to be this, but it does tend to kind of go that way. So let's look a little bit at Western medicine and this reductionist idea. And how does that play a part, or how does it fall into place, if you're using Western medicine as your healthcare, okay, for that. This idea of reductionism, this idea that the whole equals the sum of its parts, you see that in a lot of different ways. You see that in the almost religious faith in science. Now, I am huge with science and research. I love science and research. I look at papers and read papers a lot. It's part of what I do. So respect with that, total. But when everything is evidence-based medicine, which is the center point. In fact, there were a bunch of websites I went to recently when I was looking into this a little bit more with Western philosophy, and everything they said with Western philosophy was like evidence-based medicine, evidence-based medicine. Well, that's not philosophy to me. That is talking about scientific evidence. That's not philosophy. But it is, because philosophies encompass a lot of different things. But evidence-based medicine basically says that if we can't prove something with science, we shouldn't be doing it. Now, I'm paraphrasing that, but it's basically, if it's not proven with science, then what are we doing? And we shouldn't be doing it unless it is proven with science. The thing is with the human body and with the human experience, there's a lot of things, and I would say more than not, that are very difficult to prove with science and to make these hard, cold facts about. Our system is still a mystery in a lot of ways. Yes, we are very smart now. Yes, we know more than we ever have about health and the human experience, but there's still a lot of stuff that's a total mystery. And yeah, limiting it from that perspective is a limit in a lot of other perspectives, which we'll try to talk about a little bit here. The experience that a person has with a Western medical doctor may feel more cold or sterile. That's not always going to be the case, but that is a lot of the experiences with a lot of people. I have conversations all the time with whether it's patients in our office or other conversations with people regarding healthcare. And that's a lot of the experiences that people have. Now, that's not just Western medicine's fault. That's insurance. That's the corporate systems that involve the hospitals. There's a lot of things involved in that. And we'll talk about those things as this journey continues. But there is a lot of that. There's this very cold, sterile relationship. But a lot of that does come back to the philosophy. And that is that you are a problem to be fixed. And that the doctor knows best. And that the doctor is going to use evidence-based medicine to fix your problem. That you are a disease, that you are a condition, that you are a problem, not that you're a human being. And you see that a lot in a reductionist approach to healthcare. It reduces you to a number. Right? You're a number. It reduces you to the problem that's being presented. Now, let me also add to this conversation once again to make sure that I'm being very clear. I think there's benefits in both camps. And you will never catch me on the flip side, or if you're having a conversation with me outside of this, saying that I think Western medicine is bad or that Western medicine should go away, that we shouldn't have it. I'm the first one to tell you that if I walk out my front door and get hit by a car, I'm not going to ask them to bring them to my office. I'm going to ask them to take me to the hospital and get me checked out. So there's an absolute reason and purpose for Western medicine to be in existence, and it should be integrated with alternative care. The two should be integrated. That's my opinion. And that is what would create a really high functioning medical health system, is if the two of those were integrated. And what I mean by integrated is actually integration, not tolerance, which is right now barely tolerant from the Western medicine side, tolerating alternative medicine. There's benefits for both of these things, and the integration, the actual integration of them, is what would benefit people the most in our society. So that's reductionism, and that's the idea that you get with that. Anybody who's been to a hospital, who has regular visits with their doctors, can see some of this in play every time they go. Some people have lots to say about it from a negative point of view, and some people love their medical doctor and are totally fine with everything experientially that they have with their medical doctor. Let's talk about vitalism. Let's talk about chiropractic. And I'm using chiropractic for two reasons. One, because I am a chiropractor, so it's much easier for me to talk about that. I don't know as much about, let's say, acupuncture or being a naturopath as far as the philosophy behind that. But I would say that the vitalistic idea is probably paramount or far closer to those things than Western medicine. Going into chiropractic college, I didn't know a whole lot about chiropractic. I was actually a newbie with the whole process. But I was fortunate on the very and actually it was even before my very first day in chiropractic college that I met some students who were several years ahead of me in school, who took me under their wing and revealed to me the chiropractic philosophy, the ideas, the models behind it. And it was revelatory for me. I mean, it connected with me. So obviously my personal philosophies were kind of in that alignment already. It connected with me, and I really loved the chiropractic philosophy, so much so that I ended up running the philosophy club at school. I became the student body president and was very centered on philosophy for the school. I did a lot of things like that while I was in college. Um, there's a gentleman named Stevenson, and this is the chiropractic textbook written by R.W. Stevenson in 1927. Um, that was the first place, to my knowledge, that was the first place that the principles of the chiropractic philosophy were laid down in a very clear, formatted way. There are 33 principles laid out in the chiropractic philosophy, and that I think was the very first one. Now, my personal favorites for philosophy were written by Strauss, and he has several books on chiropractic philosophy, and I'm not expecting the vast majority of you to want to run out and buy these books. These are chiropractic students would do well to read them, but for the lay person, probably not. They'd probably be interesting, but maybe boring a little bit. I don't know. But I want to walk through some of these 33 principles to illustrate a couple of things. I want to illustrate this idea of vitalism and how far different it is from reductionism. And to give you a sense of what I'm wanting to get across in this episode today, which is choosing healthcare, choosing a model for your healthcare. Okay, and once again, I have to always preface these things for safety reasons and for covering my own tush, and that is that I am not saying never to go to a medical doctor at all. That is never what I'm going to be telling you. I personally think that working with a medical professional and a alternative medicine professional can work in a really fantastic way. To give yourself different perspectives. You get a reductionist perspective. Okay, I can think about that. And you get a vitalistic perspective. I can think about that. And you can then put the two together and make the best decisions for yourself, because ultimately it is your choice for what you do with your healthcare. It's your choice what you do with your body. And that's really one of the other messages that you should take home today, is that that is the case. You should take power and charge of your own healthcare and make those decisions. Too many people give their power away to a Western medical doctor or to a chiropractor even. But the power is yours, and that's where it should stay. So here is the vast difference. So if we start with the reductionist model and we say the whole is equal to the sum of its parts, if we say that this complex system is understood by breaking down into smaller pieces, and then we say that yes, we understand this, and yes, we can then fix this, that the doctor is the person in charge. The doctor is the one that heals the body. Now contrast that to what I'm about to give you here. As I said, the chiropractic philosophy is broken down into 33 principles. The very first principle is the a priori statement for the entire philosophical model, and that is, and it's referred to as the major premise, and I'll read it to you. A universal intelligence is in all matter, continually gives it, let me start over from that. A universal intelligence is in all matter and continually gives to it all of its properties and actions, thus maintaining it in existence. Okay. A universal intelligence is in all matter and continually gives to it all of its properties and actions, thus maintaining it in existence. So we start off with the idea of universal intelligence. We don't start off with, I know how to break your body down into pieces and I know what's best for your body. Not at all. We say that at the beginning of our philosophy, we acknowledge that there is a universal intelligence. Now, that doesn't have to be God. Some chiropractors would state that the universal intelligence concept is talking about God. It's talking about a higher power. Others in chiropractic, talking about the philosophy, would say it has to do with set principles, okay, gravity, okay, those types of things. That the universal intelligence is what creates all of these known quantities that affect us, okay, and that's the universal intelligence. I kind of like a little bit of both of those things in that explanation. But we start with universal intelligence, that there is this universal intelligence, this unknown. Remember that in vitalism talks about a vital force that is not explainable fully through physical and chemical processes, and that it is what basically animates matter. Okay, so a universal intelligence in all matter and continually gives to it all of its properties and actions, thus maintaining it in existence. Number two states that the chiropractic meaning of life, that the expression of this intelligence, this universal intelligence, through matter is how we as chiropractors define life. Universal intelligence being expressed through matter is the meaning of life. And that life is necessarily the union of those two things, intelligence and matter. Now, we continue further, and I'm not going to read every 33 principles, but we go further with that by talking about the difference between living matter and non-living matter. So, we are living matter, and a rock is non-living matter. Both of those have universal intelligence. The difference being is that as living matter, we also have something called innate intelligence. Now, the term innate simply means inborn or born within, that you are born with an intelligence that governs what happens with the system. And that innate intelligence is really paramount. It's what knows. Your innate intelligence knows more about what's happening with your body, what needs to happen with your body, what it takes to make your body healthy, and what it takes to fix and cure your body, more than any doctor, Western or otherwise, is ever going to know. So the I was trying to figure out which one of those was the innate intelligence. Yeah, innate intelligence is number 20. So a living thing has an inborn intelligence within its body, and we call this innate intelligence. So in chiropractic, we talk about three different types of intelligences. We say universal intelligence, which is this governing, guiding intelligence of the universe. We talk about innate intelligence, which is that intelligence within the human body that knows, how much calcium your body needs at a given moment. It knows how much hormone of this or that to secrete at a given moment. It knows how to heal your tissues. It knows all of these things, and it knows them instinctively. Then we also talk about educated intelligence. Educated intelligence is intelligence that comes from outside of you. So it's the stuff you fill into your brain. It's the stuff you get from your schooling, from your college, from your degrees. It's what you get from your life education. But all of these things are intelligence that comes from outside to fill up the brain. That's the intelligence that a reductionist tends to rely on the most. A reductionist relies on this and says, my intelligence, excuse me, my intelligence is going to figure out how to solve this problem, and it's going to fix or cure your situation. In a vitalistic model, we say, yes, educated intelligence is good. It's good to have educated intelligence. However, my educated intelligence is never going to understand what's happening in your body to the degree that your innate intelligence already does. One of the most incredible examples of the combination of universal and innate forces at play is the creation of a human being. If you really stop to think about that process, and I've taught anatomy and physiology for more than 20 years, so basically about 24 years really. Uh, and when I would teach my students, I would try to give them the sense of awe in the human body and the human process that I have. I am in total awe of the human process. When you think about creation, when you think about a sperm and an ovum, and you think about those two coming together, so you've got this single cell from the male, this single cell from this female, and they fuse. And then these two cells become four, which become eight, which becomes 16, which become 32, which becomes 64, and so on and so on and so on. And soon, from just these two cells, we have a human being which has roughly 70 trillion cells just from those two cells. That's an amazing, amazing process. It's mind-blowing. I mean, when you think about it, when you think about how does that happen? How can that even exist? It's an amazing process. And it's the intelligence of the human body that guides it and governs it and puts it all together and knows how it operates. And to think the arrogance that your educated intelligence could fathom that process better than the process itself is the part that a vitalist would never want to cross that line. Someone whose philosophy is vitalism acknowledges that first and foremost, that your innate intelligence really is the master of this whole process, and that for me to get involved in that is just as a assistant, okay, just as an assistant. I've often told the patients in my office that the real doctor here is you. I'm here to facilitate what needs to happen, and your innate intelligence is what's going to actually create the miracles. It's your innate intelligence is what's going to heal you. Your innate intelligence is what's going to guide this process. The only thing we can really do is take away any kind of obstacles to the innate intelligence doing its job. Now, in the chiropractic philosophy, innate intelligence is always 100%. Always. Always 100%. Universal forces are always 100%. The only thing that really becomes a problem is matter. This physical stuff here, this matter. Matter can have limitations. The innate intelligence of the human body has no limitations, but it acts through the matter. So that's where problems come in, is problems with matter. Chiropractors do lots of things in their offices. The primary thing that a chiropractor does is an adjustment. Adjustments come in many, 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 many different forms. There are somewhere around 100 techniques or more in chiropractic. Most people don't realize that. Some of those techniques are very forceful, okay? Twist, turn, snap, crackle, pop. I don't say that in a mean way. That's just what people think about it. Some use instruments. Some use very light contacts. All of it is done with the purpose of removing what we refer to as a subluxation. And those subluxations are what we consider one of the things that is a problem in the matter that is keeping your innate intelligence from doing its job. And if we remove that obstacle, then innate intelligence can come into the system the way it's supposed to and do what it needs to do, repair. So, little adjustment. Suddenly everything opens up like magic and things start to get fixed. And that's the history of chiropractic. And you see that with I've met hundreds of people, not just people in my office who we've helped, but people from all walks of life with different experiences with other chiropractors who have amazing stories of healing and recovery. And for the most part, that is simply the chiropractor removing an obstacle and letting innate intelligence do its job. There was another analogy that I was given once that was water. You're putting an obstacle and the water is being held and the plants are now dying. And all I have to do is remove the obstacle and let that life-giving energy flow, and the plants all come back to life again. And that was the analogy of removing the obstacle. Remove the obstacle, let the body heal. Now, as a perspective, I have always done functional medicine in our office as well. So we do chiropractic, we do functional medicine. And when we talk about functional medicine, we get a little line crossing when it comes to the vitalistic idea. Yes, a nutritionist or a functional medicine doctor typically goes in and says, we need to fix this, we need to fix this, we need to fix this. And yes, they do it from a natural perspective to try and fix what's wrong with the body. But you can go into that with a vitalistic idea as well. And that is that the matter needs to be fed properly. You have to give it proper sustenance, proper nutrients, and that comes from your food. It can also come from supplementation. It can come from herbs, etc. And knowing where the obstacle may be coming from in a system, in a given system, it's coming from the endocrine system, it's coming from the digestive system, it's coming from the nervous system, can help guide where we help support the matter so that the innate intelligence can do its job. So if a person comes in with digestive difficulties, then a person with a vitalistic philosophy could basically be saying, well, you have disturbance in your digestive system, and maybe there's also a disturbance in another system over here that relates to it. And the purpose is not for me to fix your ulcerative colitis, to fix your IBS, to fix your gastroesophageal reflux disease, but my task is to feed these systems to support the matter so that it removes the obstacles and your innate intelligence can go in and fix what needs to happen. Basically saying that I'm still really not the person that's fixing it. All I'm doing is removing the obstacles, but I'm doing it through nutrition. So there are ways to use these philosophies and guide what happens. To me, it's an incredibly important distinction. Finding a Western medical doctor that fits my values in a vitalistic way is incredibly difficult. I have found people that very closely match that, if not 100% over the years. But it's taken a journey to find these types of people. So I get there being difficulty in finding someone that might have that idea. But it's worth the journey to try and find that person. Another thing is that you don't have to necessarily change that. People that come into our office the very first day, I have a bit of a conversation with them, and I let them know that not only am I here to help them through chiropractic and through nutrition, but that if they want to use me as a sounding board for the information they get from their Western medical physician, that I am here for that as well. Bring me your x-rays, bring me your MRIs, bring me your blood tests, and we can sit down and we can look at them. And I will look at them through my vitalistic lens and give you an opinion on that. And you can get the opinion from that reductionist viewpoint. And then you have both of those to compare, to look at and say, okay, this is what they say from that philosophical perspective, and this is what they say from this philosophical perspective, and I think I'm going to take this and this from that, and this is what I'm going to do. You get to decide that. And so I am never trying to diagnose off of the Western medical doctor's information. I'm just wanting to give a perspective to our patients that they may not be getting. And so that's something that you can look for, is to have both of those. Okay, now I got to have two doctors. Well, I mean, sometimes that's what it takes. The old expression, it takes a village. Well, in creating healthcare, finding those people that can be aligned with you philosophically, with the direction that you wish to take your health in, the direction that you wish to take your well, to create your health decisions, sometimes does mean you have to have partners in this. If your Western medical doctor is so reductionist that they won't even listen to a vitalistic perspective, then that's fine. Get what you need to get from them, and then get that vitalistic perspective from somebody else. Um, my choices are my choices. Your choices have to be your choices. I gravitate towards that vitalistic idea. The idea that the true power for healing is something that is given through me, universal intelligence, and guided through my innate intelligence, and that my body heals as long as the obstacles and the interferences are removed, is very empowering. I find it invigorating. I find it empowering. I find it inspiring. And I think that's the case for a lot of you out there who may be watching. Um, and whether you take this from a religious perspective, or you take it from just a simple physical acts of the universe, the acts of physics being those types of powers, I think it works either way. I think looking at it as the higher source is sometimes even more inspiring. But how you choose to do that is up to you. Now, another caveat to this, or another addition to this, is that you know I am not trying to say that, um, to look at it from a religious perspective, that God heals everything. That's not what I'm saying. There may be truth to that, but that's not what I'm saying. Uh, Having assistance for the matter, to me, is very important. Having professionals that can help with that. We in my family, we have at least two different chiropractors that we go to on a semi-regular basis. We have an acupuncturist that we go to on a semi-regular basis. We have several different types of massage therapists that do different types of work: myofascial, craniosacral, etc. You know, we use supplements a lot in my household. It's a huge part of helping to create health in this household. These are all people that assist me and my family with making sure that this physical matter is in the best shape that it can be, and that there's no limitations to that, so that the innate intelligence can do its job. It goes back to that. So what are we saying here? Well, we're talking about philosophical models. We're talking about understanding in your heart and your head and your mind, what it is that you believe in. What do you feel creates health? Where do you think health comes from? What is the relationship that you wish to have with your doctors that are part of this health journey that you're on in your life? Do those people have, do they support your philosophical journey, your journey on this health journey? Are they supporting you on that? And then finding people who have those mindsets, those philosophical mindsets that do support your path. Okay. And I think that's very, very important. I will say that one of the things that has always come up as an issue, and kind of an obstacle with conversations, and I've had thousands of conversations with patients and people discussing their interactions with their Western medical doctor, even sometimes with their reactions with chiropractors that they had prior to our office. And one of the common denominators that was always this problem was this lack of hope, this sense that, you know, they are a disease, condition, or problem that needs to be fixed. And given the energy or the idea that this is going to be a really difficult thing to fix this thing, and it may not ever get fixed, and you're just going to have to live with this. In fact, you're going to have to live with taking this medication for the rest of your life. Oh, how many times I've heard that. You have to take this medication for the rest of your life. Really? Why do you have to take this medication for the rest of your life? That might be true. It very well could be true. But is it true? And have you actually done the things you need to do to try to create the matter to be healthy so that innate intelligence can do its job? Remember, innate intelligence is always 100%. It's always 100%. And it's far more intelligent than your educated intelligence. And so if you can just remove the obstacle, if you can get the hell out of the way and let innate intelligence to do its job, then who are you to take hope away and say that something can't be fixed? Taking hope away is probably the worst thing, the number one worst thing that any health professional can do, because hope is necessary for healing. And as long as a person's brain is functioning, their lungs are functioning, and they're getting air into their system, and their heart is beating, there's always hope. And because the innate intelligence, like I said, is always 100%. The only thing that is the problem is the matter. Okay. What's the matter? The matter is the matter. And what we need to do is try to make the matter healthy, and then get the hell out of the way and let innate intelligence do its job. And that's vitalism. And that's chiropractic. And I'll reiterate that I'm saying this not just for chiropractic. This was not meant to be a chiropractic rah, rah, rah session. It may have come out a little bit like that, but it wasn't really meant to be a rah, rah session for chiropractic. For alternative medicine in general, there's lots of different fields, professions within alternative medicine. And there's lots of great help to like I said, we have a great acupuncturist. She's amazing. We have several people we use for massage therapy, and they are all amazing individuals. And the chiropractors that we choose to go to are amazing individuals. And we choose to go to people that have vitalistic perspectives, because these people align with the viewpoints that we have of how health is created. So I hope that this was interesting. I hope that this was enlightening a little bit. Maybe it gave you a perspective that you didn't have before of medicine. And I hope that your journey to finding the professionals that you need around you to create your health team is easier than it is for some. Like I said, not everybody has to be aligned. Western medicine will not always be aligned, and nor does it have to be. It has its purpose, it serves its function, and we should utilize it for that. Another topic for another episode of the Flipside should be to talk about healthcare concept as a general. Unfortunately, in our society right now, our healthcare concept is almost more of a sick care concept, and that's why our society is as sick as it is. We got lots of stuff to talk about. I want to talk about the MAHA movement and make America healthy again. I think that is the most vital, most important thing that has happened in the United States in a long, long, long time. I think that if it works the way that it needs to work, we're going to see some amazing changes in our healthcare system and with the health of this nation, because we have people that are out there that are wanting to really make a difference and stop the politicization of health, and which is hurting us. I want to talk about different alternative models, and talk about acupuncture, and talk about naturopathy, and talk about craniosacral work, and etc. There's so many great professionals out there doing amazing work, and if you're not familiar with some of these techniques that are out there, you should be. I want to talk about nutrition. There's some amazing stuff to be had with nutrition. Functional medicine is to me, where Western medicine should be moving. There are great functional medicine doctors who are Western medical doctors out there, and we can get some information from them as well. And we're going to talk about some of the controversial stuff, like I said. So, as I mentioned at the very beginning, I really want to thank you for joining me on this first step of this journey. I only want this to get better and better and better every episode. And I'm going to have these episodes drop on Mondays weekly. And I hope that you will join me for these. So until the next episode, this has been The Flip Side. Thank you.